Okay, so in this video, we are going to cover probably the biggest concern and the biggest frustration for the majority of people who are trying to change their lives through conscious creation, which is doubts, right? How do you deal with doubts? Because how much better would life be if you could do all this work you're doing, the visualization, the meditation, and the scripting, and the affirmations, and you're reading books and watching videos, if you had full confidence in yourself that this would work, right? So we're going to get to the core of why you have these doubts, and then I'll go into ways in which you can resolve these doubts, remove them, dissolve them, so that you can do this stuff confidently, right? There is a big emphasis on trying to do different techniques. And the solution is that you just need to find the right technique that will help you feel a certain way, that will help you write down a certain intention in a different format, and that will manifest faster. Look, all this stuff to save you some time, whether it is visualizing, whether it is feeling it as real, it all works, right? You are having an intention, you are trying to feel it as real, or you're saying it out loud, or you're reading it in your mind. All these creative practices work, but you can get lost in a million different techniques, and you can burn yourself out in the process of trying all these different techniques. Okay, I have spent over the years thousands and thousands of pounds, a load of time, and a load of energy. And don't get me wrong, it was helpful to find out what didn't work. But the doubts is, if you can eliminate the doubts, it doesn't matter what technique you use. If it's rooted in the principle of creation, you can make it work. Okay? If I try affirmations but I doubt that they work, they're not going to work. If I visualize my future but I doubt that I can create it, it's not going to work. If I try and feel my future as real but I'm doubting if I can actually feel it, or I feel it and then I go about my day and I doubt that it will work, you see the problem here. It's the same thing. It's the doubts, and it's not the creative practice. So I just want you, if there's any help at all, if I could save you any time, it's to avoid being hooked in by different techniques, because you just end up in a loop, right? If you've got no doubts, you can practice all the techniques and it's kind of fun, right? You can play around with what you want. It's creative. It's not desperate. So the doubts then, where does this come from? The doubts stem from subconscious beliefs we have about our ability to either create something new in our life. So that means we doubt our ability to become healthy, or to heal ourselves, or to find a new relationship, or to become financially free, or to grow our business. There's doubts around that. But in this case as well, there's also a core belief that we doubt whether it's possible that we can consciously create it. So it's another sort of step forward. It's a 2-for-1. Okay, because it's quite a big shift. You think what you're learning to do here, as I say in a lot of my videos, if you told yourself in the past, right, if you spoke to a version of you 5-10 years ago and they had no idea about this stuff, and you told them you would be able to consciously create your future, any future that you wanted, because you could believe in it, that version of you would be completely blown away. They would think you were living on a different planet, or that you changed planets, right? So give yourself, take the pressure off yourself. But these doubts stem from your ability to believe that you can do this. And as I said, there's also doubts then related to your belief in your ability to create the shift in a certain area of your life. For example, I have lots of clients who work in all sorts of different areas of their life they want to change. I give you an example, a relationship one. Okay? So if you're someone who has struggled to find your sort of dream relationship, your dream partner, your soulmate for a long period of time, that is a lot of time within your life that every day you have had thoughts, you have had feelings, and you have had experiences where you haven't had a moment to be with or live that life of being with your dream partner, right? That makes sense, okay? In all that time, every time you have those thoughts and it's been habitual, right? The thoughts that might be like, I can never find the right person. Why is it so difficult? Maybe I'm just meant to be on my own. And those thoughts have corresponding emotions, right? Such as guilt, such as shame, such as anxiousness around it, worry, right? That if you feel the fear as well of not being with someone, that's just ingraining more into my subconscious. If that's me, if that's what I'm trying to create, and I've done that for a long time, and that creates an identity. Okay, so if you subconsciously keep thinking and feeling and acting in a way that's not in alignment with what you want, your subconscious you sort of keep adding it to your subconscious over and over again. And over time, your subconscious goes, okay, cool. This is everything you've given me. This is your identity. So now we have to create a world, I'm speaking as your subconscious, that reflects your thoughts that you've had, the feelings that you've experienced, and the actions that you've taken. Okay? But there is the conscious part of you, almost you could say the soul part of you, which wants to change. It's had enough of this. And this is how we get into taking action initially. We take action, we want to change, we try and maybe get ourselves to look and feel physically better, right? We want to feel like we are better in conversation with people. We want to take up some more hobbies, make ourselves more interesting. But we've also got to change how we think and how we feel. So, trying to change, I'm giving an example. This applies to all areas of your life you're trying to change. But these subconscious patterns keep us stuck. Think of how many people in your life have told you, including ourselves, I'm going to change this area of my life. And then you speak to them 6 months down the line, a year down the line, and they are still telling people that they're going to change this area of their life, and they are fighting against their identity. Once we build an identity, if we want to change it, we have to dissolve the old programs, remove the resistance, and that's because the resistance holds those doubts, right? It's not the subconscious's fault, it's just the subconscious takes everything as an experience habitually and goes, okay, this is us. And because your subconscious mind runs 95% of what you do, very hard to break. And these things you pick up aren't necessarily all from you, right? These are things we pick up in our childhood. These are things we pick up at school, around our friendship groups, around the media. Everything is constantly filling you with, so whatever you subject yourself to, you become. And then when you try and change that, it becomes inherently difficult. This is why human beings have found it difficult to change, especially the more our identity is formed. You ever met a person where they're so locked in their ways, right? They have such a strong identity around something that they're never going to shift their beliefs. So we're not like that because we're trying to change it, but I'm giving you an example here of the sort of place you can get yourself to and why these doubts happen. Because every time you're trying to break free, those old beliefs are not in alignment with what you're trying to create. So they have to come up, right? Because it's a threat to your identity, which is a threat to your safety. If I've not had a partner for years and I've always believed that maybe I'm just not meant to have a partner and maybe I'm ugly, right? That's my belief about myself. And that I'm just not a confident person. And I say that a lot. If I'm honest, I've been saying that a lot. And I've built an identity around it. And people also know me as that person because they've seen me talk like this and think like this. And they've been around my emotional reactions like this. You see where I'm going, right? So then when I go to change, I'm fighting against that identity. And my subconscious is like, no, 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 no. This is quite risky, right? This is not who you are. And it's also why when you try to change, a lot of the time, people around you who are used to your identity don't really like it. Not necessarily, I mean, I've never experienced it to the level that people have proclaimed it to happen, but there's a test. People will almost test you to say, is this really what you want to do? Or, are you sure this is a good thing for you? And it's annoying. And if we don't know how to deal with those situations, we can just go back to our old identity because we don't like fighting against that. Also external resistance, right? So I hope this is making sense for you. But the doubts, all they are is just subconscious patterns based on our identity, which we have to deal with. And there are different ways you can do this. One of the ways I teach is where if you're visualizing, for example, I had an application through yesterday which explained that this person was struggling with visualizing. I also used to really struggle with visualizing because I felt like it didn't feel real. I felt like I was faking it. And that's because what I was trying to do is in contrast to my beliefs. If for example, if I was someone who was trying to, how could I say, go from working in a corporate job, and then I wanted to build a business that gave me complete freedom where I was living by the beach and I could work my own hours and all this stuff. But I'd been in a corporate job for 30 years. For me to try and visualize that would be incredibly difficult. So even visualization is more tricky if we haven't lived anywhere near that way, or the way we've thought, the way we've felt, the actions that we've taken also aren't in alignment with it. It's really tough, right? To visualize. So what you can do is, as you're going into a visualization, right? And if you'll know there's resistance as you're trying to visualize. It will feel like an effort, right? You'll feel tension in your face. You'll feel tension in your body. Your eyebrows come down, and you're trying to sort of sense, like, where am I? I can't really, this doesn't really feel real, because you're fighting against the old you. And what you can do in this particular instance is just feel where you feel the resistance in your body. Is one example of a really helpful way to break this resistance. Where do you feel that resistance? And just let your forehead relax, for example, right? And as you try and visualize again, you try and go into it. If you feel resistance in your body, sense where that resistance is specifically, and just place your attention on it, and just stay with it and let it dissolve. And then go back into your visualization and do it again. This is just one form of breaking that resistance. So it means that you don't have that doubt when you're trying to visualize. And you can apply this to going about your day when those doubts crop up. And this is just a bit of a shorter video today, but look, I know the doubts, they are the thing that is in the way. If you want some help with this is what I coach, this is what I teach. I will help you remove the subconscious blocks and resistance so that you can visualize properly, you can affirm properly, and you can go about your day and hold that consistent belief that your world is changing, right? Rather than being swamped with doubts and having to go back to the start and do everything all over again. You can hold it and maintain it with that subtle but unshakable confidence, and you're good to go. So if you're interested in that, there's a link at the top of the description, also in the comments. It's working with me for a period of 6 weeks, and it's a short application. If you're going to fill it in, please put as much detail as you can in there, because this is not going to be a sales call. I'm going to put together a video proposal and take all of your answers and give you a plan of action of how I think I can help you. So if it's one-word answers, I really can't help. If it's more detailed, I can give you a pretty cool strategy as to what will help you the most. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope this video was helpful. Take care and speak to you soon.